They thought he was done, that the legend had already written his final chapter. But Adrian Newey is back. And this time, he's not with Red Bull. He's leading Aston Martin, armed with full control, a brand new wind tunnel, and a factory built to win titles. The AMR26 isn't just a new car. It's the beginning of something much, much bigger. Top teams are already worried, because the man who has mastered every regulation reset since the 90s is building something in secret, and no one knows how far ahead he really is. What they do know is that when Newey gets it right, everyone else is fighting for second. Adrian Newey's arrival at Aston Martin wasn't just a high-profile signing. It was a warning, a signal to every technical director on the grid that something dangerous was being built in Silverstone. For the first time in over 2 decades, Newey isn't adapting to someone else's rules. He isn't fighting internal politics or balancing marketing agendas against aerodynamic purity. At Aston Martin, he's been given a rare gift: freedom, a blank slate, a factory tailored to his philosophy, a wind tunnel optimized for his data flow, and a leadership team, led by Lawrence Stroll, willing to spend whatever it takes to give him control. It's no coincidence that the AMR26 looks different. Subtle, but unmistakable. Sharper undercuts, tighter packaging around the power unit, a rear wing that reacts more aggressively under yaw. All of it wrapped around a concept that clearly breaks away from last year's compromise with Mercedes. That's what has the paddock on edge. Not just the car itself, but what it represents. Because every team knows what happens when Newey works with time, with resources, and with full authority. They've seen it before. In 1992, in 2009, in 2022, and now, it's happening again. Only this time, he's building it without the weight of expectation, which makes the danger even harder to measure. Because if Aston Martin's concept works, if this car delivers even 70% of what Newey designed it to do, the rest of the grid may already be behind, and they won't even realize it until the first race. What's emerging now, quietly, and mostly off the record, are the first signs that the AMR26 isn't just competitive. It's unconventional. And that's exactly what makes it so dangerous. According to engineers close to the simulator program, the AMR26 doesn't behave like last year's car. It rotates faster in medium-speed corners, but stays stable under throttle. Its drag-to-downforce ratio has improved dramatically. Despite the tighter aero regulations for 2026, that shouldn't be possible, unless something radical has changed under the surface. Some believe Newey has restructured the entire airflow path beneath the floor, possibly even drawing inspiration from Red Bull's 2022 downwash concept, but adapting it to the new engine packaging and weight distribution. Others suspect the team has found a way to exploit the new active aero zones, without relying on the traditional DRS logic. None of this is confirmed, because nothing ever is with Newey. But inside the paddock, teams are already preparing contingency plans. Ferrari has reportedly adjusted their aero targets for late-season development. Red Bull has requested additional CFD allocation, something they wouldn't do unless they'd seen something unsettling. The timing is what's most alarming. The car hasn't even turned a public lap, but teams are reacting as if they've already been outmaneuvered. Because that's how it always starts with Newey. The data looks strange. The numbers don't match. And by the time anyone understands what's really happening, he's already 3 races ahead. Here's where it stops being just a car story, and starts becoming something deeper. Because what most fans haven't realized yet is that Aston Martin isn't just building a faster machine. They're assembling a network. And Adrian Newey? He's not designing in isolation. Over the past 12 months, Aston Martin has quietly poached talent from nearly every top-tier technical group in Formula One. Red Bull, Mercedes, even Ferrari. Not headline-grabbing names, but specialists in simulation, aerothermal modeling, and hybrid system calibration. And they've done it under the radar. Some of these engineers were part of the RB18 and RB19 programs. People who've seen firsthand how Red Bull interpreted the ground effect era. Now, they're sitting inside Silverstone's new design center, working under Newey's direction, but without the political friction that shaped his final years at Red Bull. The result? A car that doesn't just carry his fingerprint, but reflects a hybrid philosophy, blending Red Bull's flexibility with Aston Martin's manufacturing scale. And that's the real twist. Because for the first time since Newey left McLaren, he's not working against the clock, or against his own team's limitations. At Aston Martin, he has full integration, top-down support, no Red Bull hierarchy, no Helmut Marko oversight, no forced compromises. This isn't just about building a race-winning car. It's about taking everything he's learned from decades in Formula One and finally applying it without restriction. And if that's true, then the AMR26 may not be the peak. It might just be the beginning. There's a reason no one is saying this out loud. Not in press conferences, not in briefings, not even off the record. Because if what's happening at Aston Martin is what it looks like, then this isn't just about 2026 performance. It's about leverage, contracts, and long-term power shifts inside Formula One. Let's start with the obvious. Newey left Red Bull earlier than expected. Officially, it was for personal reasons. A step back, a time to explore new ideas. But inside the paddock, there were whispers. Whispers of internal disagreement, of limits placed on his influence, and of Red Bull's growing dependence on its engine program. Now, at Aston Martin, he's free to build his own integration. And that changes everything. Because for years, Red Bull's greatest weapon was simple: Newey's brain, paired with a Honda engine that got stronger every season. But with Ford taking over, and Newey now building something outside their system, Red Bull may be about to lose both their philosophical anchor and their design advantage. And here's what no one is explaining. If Aston Martin's AMR26 is fast, not just top 5, but truly fast, the driver market explodes. Why? Because suddenly, a team not named Mercedes, Ferrari, or Red Bull becomes a genuine title threat. And that opens doors. Dangerous doors. You don't just attract technical staff, you start attracting championship-caliber drivers. Drivers with exit clauses. Drivers who want to be where Newey is, not where the hype is. And when that starts to happen, everything changes. Because in Formula One, performance draws talent. But vision? Vision builds dynasties. If the AMR26 is even close to competitive, the consequences won't wait until mid-season. Because Formula One today is more fragile than it looks. Mercedes is still struggling to align its engine concept with the 2026 chassis. Ferrari has the power, but not the consistency. Red Bull, despite dominating for 3 years, is now balancing its future on an unproven Ford partnership, with a car designed by a team that no longer includes Adrian Newey. And into that tension walks Aston Martin. Not just with a new car, but with a new identity. They're no longer a midfield team hoping for podiums. They're a team with the best facilities in the sport, the most aggressive hiring strategy on the grid, and, for the first time, a technical concept built from the ground up, by the greatest designer Formula One has ever seen. This puts everyone on edge, because if Newey's car works, you're not looking at a threat for 4th place. You're looking at a championship wildcard. The kind of disruptor that doesn't ask for permission, and doesn't care about past reputations. And the impact goes deeper. Engine suppliers will take notice. If Honda or Mercedes sees Aston Martin as a more viable long-term partner, relationships could shift. And with that, power within the sport begins to realign. Sponsors follow momentum. Drivers follow opportunity. And as for fan bases, they always follow the story. And right now, Aston Martin has the best one on the grid. The return of Adrian Newey. A car built in silence. And a team that could flip the order before the first race is even over. If this project succeeds, even partially, every other team will be forced to rethink what they thought was possible. And if it fails, then the fear only delays. Because Newey rarely misses twice. And that's the part no one wants to say out loud. We haven't even seen the AMR26 run yet. No lap times. No onboards. No sector data. Just whispers. And one man, standing quietly at the center of it all, refusing to give anything away. Adrian Newey has built title-winning cars in 4 different decades. He's survived regulation resets, political chaos, engine failures. And he's always found a way back to the top. Now, he's working with fewer limits than ever before. No compromises. No inherited systems. Just freedom, and a team willing to follow his lead without hesitation. That's why everyone is nervous. Because when Newey works in silence, he usually delivers something no one saw coming. And if this is one of those moments, if Aston Martin really has given him the time, the tools, and the trust, then the 2026 grid is about to be turned upside down. So as teams prepare for preseason testing, all eyes may be on Red Bull, Ferrari, or Mercedes. But in the background, in the shadows of a new facility in Silverstone, a car is waiting, built by the one man no team wants to chase, and designed for a season that no one is ready for. Because if Newey got this right, then by the time they figure it out, he'll already be gone.